Love Stories. Hey, welcome back to Love Stories. I'm your host, Cheri Smith, BlueHeartMusic, and this is a place where you just might learn a little bit about love while being entertained. So today's topic is lying about your age. Have you ever done it? Well, I have actually a couple times with dating situations, and usually I think in most of the incidences I lied about actually being younger than I was because I was hanging out with the younger crowd. So I'm going to tell you a little kind of a fun little story about that. All right, so I want to tell you about when I lied about my age the night I met my husband. And it's actually a pretty funny story how I met him and how we started talking. So I will post the link for that in the description. You should definitely watch that video. It's a fun one. So fast forward to the point of where we started talking. And just as a little background, we were at a bar, it was New Year's Eve, everybody's having fun. So I'd been talking to him for a little while and we're having a great conversation. Like, I really enjoyed talking to him. And I have to say, like, at that time, I had kind of a narrow view of, like, who I should be hanging out with, not too old, not too young, just kind of people around my age, plus or minus a few years. But I was enjoying our conversation, and I was like, this guy seems interesting and fun, and so at some point in the conversation, he asked me how old I am, and I'm just like, because, I didn't know, like, I was narrow-minded enough that if somebody told me that they were a lot older than me, I would be like, never mind. But so he's like, how old are you? And I was like, oh, I could tell he was a fair bit younger than me. So I was like, how old do you think I am? And he's like, 26. And I was like, 27? Now, mind you, I was a few years past that, but I was like, how old are you? So it turns out I was actually 10 years older than he was. And I was like, ooh, he's pretty young, but I was like, okay, I don't want him to, like, blow me off because he just thinks I'm too old. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll just roll with it that I'm 27. He asked me out and we go out on a date, and it's like this really amazing, great date. And I will tell you about that in another episode because that's kind of a fun story too. But so we go on this great date, and then, things are going well and we keep seeing each other and we're hanging out. And, after a couple months, I'm like starting to sweat it here because I'm like, things are going really well. Now I'm worried that he's gonna find out that I lied about my age. At some point I need to come clean. So I was like, how do I tell him my real age? How should I bring this up? And so it was kind of in the back of my head, like I was just kind of worried about that. So this one night, we're over at my townhouse that I owned, and he was like, so what year did you buy this townhouse? And so I told him, and I was like, uh-oh, this is gonna evolve to some conversation about age, or he'll figure out kind of my relative age. I was like, oh no. But I was like, okay, I'm just gonna tell him. So, I told him what year I bought the townhouse. And then he's like, oh, well, do you know what I was doing that year? I was like, graduating from high school? He was like, yeah. Now, mind you, this was like several years past when he had graduated from high school, but add on an extra 10 years to that for me, right? And so then he's like, what year did you graduate from high school? And I'm like, ooh, okay, I have to tell him now. He's gonna find out. So I just told him the year I graduated, and then I just was like, told him how old I was. And I was like, hopefully he's not like angry that I'm not actually 27, or I wasn't at that time. But it turns out Like, not only did he not care, like, he didn't have the same hang-ups and narrow mind about age that I did at that time, but it was funny because he also didn't remember me telling him that I was 27. So I'd been all worried about it this whole time. But as it turned out, like, not only did he not care, but he didn't even remember. So that was pretty funny how that ended up. So what lessons have we learned here? Well, I think the main lesson here is don't rule somebody out because of their age. Like, if I had decided, oh, he's too young, things never would have happened. And if he'd been like, oh, she's too old for me, we wouldn't have gotten married. We wouldn't have 2 beautiful children. We wouldn't have our dog and our happy life together, So I guess just keep an open mind when it comes to age. I mean, to some degree, you need to be in the same place in life. But it doesn't have to be like super narrow, there's not a perfect age for you. And I always imagined, if I married someone, he'd be like 2 or 3 years older than me. I had that in my head for years, that's who I needed to be with. And, it turns out like the man that was perfect for me was 10 years younger than me, and who knew? So keep an open mind there, you don't want to be real rigid about that. And I am fortunate that he didn't really care about age too. And second lesson here is maybe just be honest with each other. I mean, granted, I wasn't honest in the beginning because I was worried that he would judge me, but after a while, the truth came out. We discussed, we talked about our age, and it wasn't an issue. And if it was, then we wouldn't have been right for each other, I guess, if one of us was judging the other one, especially after we got to know each other. So be honest, I guess. Don't wait too long to be honest. If there's a white lie, like, you shouldn't wait too long before you tell the truth, because you also don't want to be in a serious relationship with a big lie going on. So honesty has its merit. So definitely try to be honest as you can. And if there's something like that at the beginning of the relationship, well, try to clear it up and get to the truth as soon as you can, because that's better in the big picture. All right, that's it for this story. So if you have a story where you lied about your age, I want to hear about it. Drop that down in the comments and share the juicy details. All right, and then also, if you feel like you benefited from this video, if you enjoy hearing tips about dating advice or relationship tips, or if you just like my stories, well, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. And don't forget about my visual aids, right? So there'll be new episodes almost every Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific time. And please be sure to like and subscribe. Very important. Please do that. Share if you like. And most importantly, I want you to know you are loved. All right, thanks so much for watching Love Stories. I'm your host, Cheri Smith, BlueHeartMusic, and I will catch you next time.